It's not in the house yet, on the porch, and maybe a couple of feet. You look at the tractor down there, just barely up to the motor on the tractor or the bottom of it.
You just almost drive out there.
The floor that we could get up, and the water's just to the porch.
Are you fearful for your belongings?
Well, the fireman said that it wasn't going to get any higher, they didn't think.
Well, it's not very deep. It's not in the house, just up on the porch.
Well, it got in the house before.
Blabbermouth.
What made you decide to come out?
Mrs. Lemon called us and told us that it was flooding and to come on out.
Well, what's the need of sitting in there, looking at it? Didn't have it one can of beer.
How did you get in?
We drove in. It wasn't this high then.
What's your first name?
Everything floating around over the floor. My son's trying to pick things up and get it up out of the water. And I started picking up my chairs that I didn't want ruined and things like that and stacking them up where they wouldn't get wet and ruined.
What does your house look like inside now?
Muddy mess. Well, it's pretty discouraging, but like I told them, it's paid for, and I'm a widow woman, and I have a hard time making a living, and I got to stick it out, so I can't sell it and move out. I got to clean mud out and go back in.
Well, the way I feel about it, the quicker we get these Republicans out of the party, the better off we are. And if that shoe fits anyone, whoever that shoe fits, let them get out. Because I know good and well that we've got enough good yellow dog Democrats in this state to carry this state for Barefoot Sanders and to carry it for the Democratic presidential nominee, regardless who he may be.
Well, this is just my second season here now. I signed in 1970 out of college, 1 year of college. And I was fortunate I didn't have to go to the Rookie League or the lower A League. I started out in the Carolina League. This year I went to the Eastern League in Denver, and now I'm up here.
Well, of course, I suppose your views on the transfer of the franchise would be a little different than guys who spent a great portion of their career here.
Yeah, right. I haven't been here, and I imagine for the older fellas like Frank Howard, he spent almost his entire career here, 7 years, and a lot of the guys have their children here or in school, you know, and they have their homes and everything. They're going to have to pick up and leave. But as for myself, being single and everything, I'll go wherever Mr. Short goes. He's my boss, and I'll play wherever he wants me to play.
You know, Dallas isn't a bad town for a single guy.
That's what I heard.
Oh, you've already heard that.
Well, I've seen those Texas Bells on the football games and everything, so imagine this. I heard it's quite a town, the whole general area there.
We are delighted that Neal Hospers will continue to manage the operation of the Worth. We feel that he is one of the nation's outstanding hotel executives, and we are confident he will provide the type of management that will enable the hotel to continue its long history of quality service to the community.
The rains dumped a total of nearly 3 inches of water on the city and sent public works crews scurrying to low-level underpasses and streets. Fire department crews were also called out and ready to start plucking residents from their flooded houses to dry land. But contrary to expectations, only about 300 homes were affected in Dallas. A levee break south on Central Expressway did catch 2 women in a house owned by Mrs. Corrine Lemon and lived in by Mrs. Linda Patrick. Another woman who was a homebody too long for comfort was Mrs. Mildred Baker, who lives at Hahn Freeway and Jordan Road. Mrs. Baker was at work when she heard about the flood hitting her home.
Well, we're in the process of seeking a temporary restraining order as against those who took part. We have started already a very intense investigation as to what happened and how, and of course disciplinary proceedings will be followed, because I think the country as a whole is kind of sick at heart at violence and destruction as a method of getting attention.
Well, there was certainly interest in the paper and appreciation that it was put together. 9 of the 10 cities on the executive committee were there. And we passed a resolution as a result of the paper and the fact that it was brought up. Now, it wasn't the full resolution which I had hoped for, which would have involved a support for the Brock Amendment, but it did contain the major point that there are alternative methods to bring about desegregation than simply busing alone.
What are these?
Well, that's not in the resolution, but they would be illustrated, of course, by some of the Dallas Plan, television, the bringing together of students for educational projects from different neighborhoods, the use of magnet schools where you have special programs, and certainly they can be integration-oriented as such.
Well, if this doesn't tie the knot, no. Twice married at the same night.
Twice done. That's begun.
Thank you.
When the jet hit the guardrail and turned up on its right side, is this where the fatal injury to Jean Thomas occurred?
I would think so. Art says that he veered to the left, and at this time, this put the guardrail on Jean's side. And I'd say that this is where it happened.
Now, a man like Art Arfons, this was his last race. He was going to quit. Must he now build another racer and prove he can run safely?
I don't think Art will ever race again. In fact, he had planned on retiring after this 300-mile-an-hour run.
What will this do to his plans, though? Mustn't he prove something to himself and to others?
I stated previously that I think that the man will be lucky if he doesn't end up in a mental institution.
You really believe that?
Yes, sir.
Is he that torn by this accident?
Horrible.
Sir?
Horrible.
A number of things have happened. First and foremost, the Russians have a sort of pronounced military superiority of the United States, and one of the you let this increase, and this can cause all kinds of problems. Secondly, the Japanese can be involved in wars with China, for example, and this is not all we can do by 1980 or 85.
Is this something that you feel we should almost look forward to?
No. I think the probability is quite low. But even a low probability of thermonuclear war is disturbing.
Do you think we'll just frighten ourselves out of it?
Well, that's one of the problems. I don't think fright is a very good motivation here or guide to action. One of the reasons why we think that the nuclear war is more likely is people are getting kind of careless on how they think about it. And when they think about it all, it's generally from fright rather than policy.